Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman, welcoming you into the Mvskoke Media Studios as we get ready for another terrific episode here, and we think we have a great episode for you folks at home today. Lots of great content, lots of good people to talk to, some things we think you're really going to enjoy. And starting it off, we have an exclusive sit-down interview with Principal Chief of the Mvskoke Creek Nation, James Floyd, talking about his naming of the executive officers, his cabinet, and their availability in the coming weeks here for the show, and highlighting them, getting them some interviews, and showing you folks just who will be leading some of these respective departments, talking about some of their qualifications and their excitement to be in those respective offices. Also, Kyle Settlemyre, a Creek citizen, left everything here back home and walked the Appalachian Trail over in the eastern side of the United States. We have him sitting with us to talk about his story. We're so excited to share that with you as well. Also, we went and visited the office of County Commissioner for District 2 here in Multnomah County, Mr. Bobby Hardridge, good friend of our program. Bobby is a great guy, does a wonderful job, and he's also a Creek citizen, talking about preserving, keeping, putting back into Creek Nation the new Yucca Bridge. So lots of things to get to. Great show lined up for you folks. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take our first break and we'll be right back.
We believe if you teach a man to fish, you can feed him for a lifetime. We believe that transitioning convicted citizens back into our communities enhances public safety. We believe that every citizen, even ex-prisoners, are important and are capable of change. We believe in reclaiming our citizens and investing them back into a culture that embraces healing and restoration.
We believe
in reintegration.
Looking for your next 18-hole adventure? Then take a look at Fountainhead Creek Golf Club. Nestled in the beautiful confines of Lake Eufaula State Park, large sloping greens and well-placed bunkers characterize the Mvskoke Creek Nation's Floyd Farley designed course and offers a fine test of skill for any golfer. Stay up on all the latest gear and equipment with a visit to our pro shop. Have lunch at the Turn at the Clubhouse Grill. We're waiting to accommodate you at Fountainhead Creek. Give us a call at 918-689-3209 or visit fountainheadgolf.com to book your next round. Fountainhead Creek Golf Club, close to home, far from ordinary. And welcome back to Native News Today. Jason Salzman here with you in studio as we get started with this week's program. And our very first feature today, a sit-down exclusive one-to-one interview between myself and Principal Chief James Floyd over in his office, the executive branch this week, just to sit down and talk about some things. He recently announced his executive officers, his cabinet. Those would be everything from tribal administrator to the director of housing, things like that. So with these people being named, 5 now confirmed, we wanted to start our series and we wanted to clear some things up with Chief. We didn't know what the availability was going to be, so we wanted to sit him down on camera and ask him some of those things. Also talked a little bit about some of the things he's been taking care of here recently. Also some trips to Oklahoma City to work with officials up there. So a little bit of everything in this interview, and we were glad to have his time, and we hope you enjoy it. Chief, obviously with your inauguration and becoming into office here recently, there's a lot of anticipation anytime an administration changes. Specifically though, a lot of citizens were anticipating you naming your executive officers, the cabinet, so to speak, and putting that out there the Monday following the inauguration. You did that, and we got the memo just like everyone else. And then comes the, what does everybody think? What does everybody, then everybody talks amongst themselves, and it becomes, the scrutiny part of it, because that's going to be with anything. You look at some people like some of the announcements and some of the appointments. Some people have their own opinions, and we gauge that through social media and really just hearing the citizens out and what they have to say. So whenever we got that, we thought, okay, the best way is to have them on, bring them on one-on-one interviews to let them talk about their qualifications themselves. What better way to endear them to the citizens to basically have them meet them through video? So we went ahead and scheduled a couple interviews. Those interviews were canceled in lieu of going to speak with your office or public relations. So are those going to be available to us at any point? Are we going to be able to sit down with those executive officers that have been appointed?
Sure, you should be. Yes, you will be.
Right. Do you know what is the screening process going to be like with that? Is it going to be something where you advise them to schedule it with us, or do we schedule it with public relations, or how is that going to work?
I've not had a conversation with any of the cabinet members about interviews, so I can raise that issue with them, nor have they raised anything with me. So I guess, in response to your question, I need to initiate that dialogue with them.
Right.
And I would prefer that we look at the ones that have been confirmed, and so we begin to develop that public profile through your media to them, to our citizens.
And some of the things that we've already talked about, and you've provided us with an audio statement your office has about the appointments just in general. But I think one of the main things for you was qualifications above all. Do you feel like you have satisfied that as far as some of the appointments you've made?
I think for the most part, yes. And in terms of their experience, their potential, their character, their backgrounds and all, there's a lot of variables in the whole evaluation process to match them up with the jobs that we have. And it does take a little bit of time. And I wanted to kind of phase in them to confirmation. And we have a mix of people, male, female, experienced, younger people, because in my view, we can't have the same people in general that collectively represent one group, because my vision is more than just the immediate need of filling a position. It's a developmental need as well.
Right.
That we need to bring in people that may not have had a chance before, but are willing or able, capable, good, honest people that need some experience to develop, because at some point, I'm not the youngest person around. We have to turn the tribe over to another generation of leaders. And so there is going to be a mix.
And I think that's something that you've said before, that we need to have this sort of leadership youth movement amongst the tribe, and it's reflected in some of your appointments for sure. Chief, in the State of the Nation address, you mentioned how your office, your administration wanted to be fully cooperative with us as Mvskoke Media and our news status and things like that. And we look at any government, any independent news agency around the world. It doesn't just apply to our situation. This is just a grand scope. But any news agency, independent news agency with a specific government, the staple of that partnership and relationship is having a FOIA in place, a Freedom of Information Act. We currently do not have that at the tribe. I know off camera we've had conversations, but where are we at with that? I mean, I know that you have said in prior conversations that that's definitely a priority.
Right. Yesterday, I had that discussion with one of the staff, particularly about FOIA, and that, do we have a policy? No, not that I'm aware of, but the need to develop that policy, because we're entering into a new realm, I think, in relationships, not just with the Mvskoke media, but with all media, and requests from not just the Mvskoke media, but other media outlets and papers asking information about us. And so we need something in place to guide our folks so that they don't get nervous or feel suspicious about something, but respond to the requests. And so hopefully starting today, we're beginning to draft what that policy will be, and that should be out, I would hope at the latest within the next 2 or 3 weeks, because we've got to get something out soon.
All right. Also, You recently, you and Second Chief Hicks, you guys have been burning up the streets out there, and really, I think you're finding out just how busy your schedule can be as Principal Chief of this nation. But you guys are making some visits to some prominent places to where we can affect policy and get our stance out there on a state level. Recently visited the Native American Caucus. Can you give us some of your for the state of Oklahoma. Can you give us some of your impressions from that meeting that you had?
Well, I've been, I guess, pleasantly surprised with the reception that we're getting with the state, and also the invitations that are coming. There are more invitations than I have time to address with the state. But yesterday with the Native American Caucus, we hosted the caucus for the month of February, and I spoke to them for about 10 minutes and covered several topics that is under consideration with the state. An example would be the prison reform, and if they're going to have deferred sentences or not incarcerated, then the impact that has upon our reintegration team here. That puts a, we don't look upon that negatively, but my point to the legislators yesterday is that, take into consideration what our tribe is doing and what other tribes are doing to try to assist those who offend and are convicted but may not be going to jail. We still need to work with them, and we just need to be aware. They need to be aware, and we need to be aware also of what issues that will bring to both parties. And that was an example of one of the topics that we talked about yesterday, in addition to mental health care that they're deliberating and things like that. So we had a good exchange, had good attendance from both the House and Senate side.
Right. Anything up in the next couple of months you have coming up that you're excited about particularly?
I get excited every day. Yeah. I'm excited about every topic. I think one thing that I think is important to the citizens that that excites me is that I think for the first time we had our One Fire Holding Company in Mvskoke Nation Business Enterprise present publicly a couple weeks ago. And I think, to me, that opened a lot of doors. There were a lot of questions that night. It was a long night. But I think in the past, citizens hadn't had that information. And several of them made comments that this is our money. We have a right to know. In return, I feel my obligation as a principal chief is to work with both of them so that we have a relationship and they hear from me and I reflect what the citizens are asking, to not to be critical of those enterprises, but to give them guidance on how I feel they should incorporate the views of our citizens or the needs of our citizens into their decision making, because these are businesses that are making revenue that comes back to the tribe, and we want to maximize that. So there will be more public reporting of what they're doing, and more involvement by me and the second chief with them as they make decisions.
Well, Chief, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for answering our questions, and we'll be looking forward to speaking with those executive officers.
Well, thank you, Jason.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You bet. And our thanks once again to Mvskoke Creek Nation Principal Chief James Floyd, a very busy man, lots of things to get to, lots of time taken up throughout the weeks, and he carved out a little space there for us, Mvskoke Media. Want to thank him for that. Well, moving right along in the program, as I said from the opener, I don't know many of us out there, I know I couldn't, just drop everything and go walk the Appalachian Trail. Over 1,000 miles. I can't remember exactly how many thousand miles it is, from Georgia all the way up through Maine. Just an incredible feat of accomplishment, of self-discovery, determination, done by one of our Mvskoke Creek citizens, a young man by the name of Kyle Settlemyre. Kyle took off walking, even though he knew his mom was worried sick back home. All of his family was thinking about him. But this is something he had to do. He had that connection. He talks about that in the story. We're just so glad to be able to have him on the program and to share this incredible young man's story.
I think I've always kind of just had some wanderlust pent up. Like I would always explore the hills around my house, and eventually you just run out of woods to explore in your own backyard, so you start to wonder what else is out there. And then, I don't know, one day at work, I was on my lunch break and I saw this, I was looking at YouTube videos, and I came across this guy documenting his thru hike, which I didn't really know much about at the time, but then I went home and researched it, and I just saw they go from like Georgia to Maine, which like over the Appalachians, which is like the oldest mountain range in North America. So I don't know, it just sounded like something I wanted to attempt. So I saw 15 bear, 2 bald eagles, 2 moose. It travels through 14 states, mountainous states, so you get a lot of scenic views. And being from Oklahoma, you don't really have many mountains to practice with, so I just kind of had to adapt to what I was surrounded with, which was kind of a long process, but you get used to it. I mean, there are definitely highs and lows, but before I left, I kind of made a resolve I would only come back home if I was injured or if there was a family, emergency. So, and thank God none of those things happened. So I just kept going, and when you're out there, it just becomes your home. That's why I think I never got totally homesick, because I just let it become what I knew at the time. The Northeast, like New Hampshire up to Maine, was totally rugged and wild, and I don't know, it stays with me. Like the White Mountains in New Hampshire were some of the hardest terrain I dealt with. Most of the bears were pretty timid, but there's this one night where I was camped out by myself in Connecticut where I was pretty much dead asleep, and I hear these crunching of leaves up to my tent and start hearing something like sniff at my head. So I kind of lost what I was supposed to do. You're supposed to like talk in a calm, steady voice to just let it know you're there, but I was just like frozen, and I started like slapping the side of my tent to get it away, and it ran off a couple times and came back, and it finally just stayed gone. But I was on pins and needles that night. So I was at the shelter, and I had to go get water for the night, and it was a pretty nice little climb up to the water spot, and it was this huge rock ledge that was slippery, and I didn't really think about it being slippery, so I just walked straight out, and there's like a stream coming down. So I was filling up, and I slipped and like slid towards the edge of the rock, which was like probably a 25-foot drop, and luckily I didn't have enough momentum to keep going off. But so that happened, and I was pretty shaken up by it. And then I got back to the shelter, and I was cooking dinner, and I turned my my stove handle too hard, and it just tipped over my entire dinner. And then, are you a Game of Thrones fan? I had enough service because I was close to a town, so I watched the finale of the season, which was just devastating. So I was just like, and then I had gotten my sleeping bag, and it was in the middle of summer, and my sleeping bag is a 20-degree bag, so it was pretty hot. But there were these little mosquitoes, we called them no-see-ums, you couldn't really see them or hear them, but so it was a miserable night. But the next morning we hitched into town and got McDonald's breakfast, so it kind of evened it out. Yeah, so I started in Georgia at Springer Mountain, and then I got to Virginia, and my hiking buddy lived just outside of Philadelphia, so we took like a week off at his house. And after that, we were kind of going slow the first half, so we decided to jump ahead, Greyhound up to New Hampshire. and go up to Maine and then come back and Greyhound back to New Hampshire. But he actually dropped off the trail after the Y to New Hampshire, so I did Maine by myself pretty much, it was nuts. And yeah, after that I Greyhounded back to New Hampshire and hiked back to West Virginia where we left off. I think just being content with less has stayed with me, and you bond with the people so much out there that you kind of see the value in human interaction, because you kind of have to look out for each other out there, the fellow hikers, and that was a big part of it, was the community. Like, the people are pretty much what makes the trail. It's a great community.
And once again, our thanks to Kyle Settlemyre. Just a phenomenal story there, and an incredible feat, and something that we really admire and definitely wanted to share here on the program. Well, as I said also in the opener, we went and visited our District 2 County Commissioner here in Okmulgee, Mvskoke Creek Nation citizen as well, Mr. Bobby Hardridge. You know, Bobby, he's worked for all three governments, United States, the Okmulgee municipality, and then also the Mvskoke Creek Nation. Actually was a councilman. First guy to win the bull riding contest at the Mvskoke Creek Nation Rodeo a few years ago. You know, still a young guy, but just a few years back he won that. And so just a man of many hats, does many things, knows lots of people. And we had got wind of a project that he's working on to preserve, save, and relocate the New Yucca Bridge, which needs to be replaced. A lot of people out there know a lot of history along that New Yucca Bridge. So with that being said, we went to Bobby, asked him about this new project he has going on.
The New Yucca Bridge has been an item, or it's been an issue for many years, even long before I came here. The bridge has been inspected and re-inspected. It's been closed down several times. I closed it twice during my time here, and the last time being over 2 years ago. It was at a point where it was just unable to be reopened due to fracture, what is called fracture critical condition. These orders come down from ODOT, which we have to abide by the bridge rules, and it finally came to the end where the county itself could not keep the bridge open, couldn't afford to do so. It's time for it to be replaced. However, we don't want to see the bridge just cut in two and dropped in the river. Not after what it has served the people in that community, and as far as that's concerned, this county. And we have found help through ODOT, and ODOT through our CED2, which is out of Mvskoke, particularly with the help of Debbie Thane and a fellow by the name of Wade Tackett. A lot of work has been done. It's been approved to be replaced. The tribe has been interested in helping us, or helping at least the coalition, who is one of the interested parties in preserving this bridge. And this coalition is out of the city of Okmulgee. And you know, by resolution, and I have talked with the DA and talked with my colleagues on the commission, by resolution we can give them this bridge. And this would be a source of saving the bridge as a whole. It would have to be dismantled. It would take some work, but with the help of the tribe, the Mvskoke Creek Nation, I believe this might get done. And the bridge will be moved into the Okmulgee area, and then the coalition will find a place for it and reconstruct that bridge as a walking or a jogging trail, bike trail, and it'll continue to live on, hopefully another 108 years. I've been blessed. I've worked for all three governments now, And you know, I've been blessed to live as long as I have. I'm getting ready to celebrate a birthday before long. But knowing the people, knowing the governments that I've worked with, I have friends who are at each one, not to say that friendships is the reason that this is occurring, but it helps to be able to come and talk and tell them what you feel. As far as being a Mvskoke Creek citizen, I believe the significance of history lays a little heavier on my heart than maybe it would maybe someone else. I have had relatives who are now gone who actually attended or went to school at the New York Commission. And I know they've crossed that bridge many times too. So long as I'm in this office, if there's something that I can get done, possibly get done, I'm going to try to do it. I have met brick walls since I've been here and weren't able to accomplish something I intended to do, but it certainly wasn't because we didn't try. And with the help of the different agencies and the different governments, and particularly with the Mvskoke Creek Nation, I think this is going to happen.
Well, that's going to wrap up another episode of Native News Today. We certainly thank you for joining us here on the CW 1219 in the Tulsa area. All of our folks out there that aren't in the area, you can check us out always on our online channel. Doing very well there. So a lot of people going on, a lot of people subscribing, watching us weekly, get so many views, so much feedback. We want to thank all of our viewers for that. It really makes us keep hustling and keep going out there, getting lots of great content, lots of news, lots of information for the folks. Things coming down the pike here that I needed to let you know about. We'll be talking with Ken Davis next week, also talking with some of the guys from the Red Stick Warriors Association. I know people are catching on with their videos as well, and we certainly appreciate that and the work that they're doing. If you can't catch us here, as I said, YouTube channel, always check us out on there. Also our Facebook page, lots of interaction. You can see what we're doing throughout the week, sort of a behind the scenes look on the show. Also Twitter. And if you folks out there, Instagram, we are now on Instagram at Mvskoke Media. So check us out there. Share some pictures. Go see what we're taking pictures of on a weekly basis here at the Tribe's media arm, Mvskoke Media. Lots of exciting things, as I said, not only coming up on this program, but from Mvskoke Media as a department. We have some things we'll be launching soon, some new initiatives. So we're extremely pleased with that. And we're very, very much invigorated by our new status and doing things that the citizens want to see. For Jared Moore and Devaney Luxinger, myself, Jason Salzman, we're Native News Today. We'll see you guys next week.